Hi, I'm Nathan from Serious Geeks, and today let's talk about all the news that's coming out for Warhammer 40,000 fans. On screen now, you can see the reveal from Warhammer Community preview coming this weekend, 23rd of May. Can't wait, I'm going to be sat there watching that like a hawk. Likely I'll get out of some housework because of it. Double win, really. The real question is, what is coming? If it's dedicated solely to Warhammer 40,000, there has got to be quite a lot coming. At least an hour's worth. And let's be honest, it's Games Workshop, so it's got to be some models. There's got to be some new models coming, otherwise, what are they doing? I think it's fairly obvious that everyone can say Primaris will be coming. Space Marines are the main seller for Games Workshop in all game systems. I think they outsell entire game systems, in fact, just that one line. And the Primaris revamp has come out at pace, although it's stalled in recent months. So I believe we will definitely see something. We've all seen this from the potato cam, and that definitely looks like a Primaris land speeder of some sort. Other models in this picture, hard to tell, but there could be Primaris bikes in the background. Can't even tell what they might be armed with if they are, or whether it's just a really blurry picture of existing bikes. I don't think any Primaris release will be centered over just two types of models, land speeders and bikes. I think probably likely, in fact, very, very likely to have additional models released. Probably another infantry squad of some sort, not sure. A variant of Gravis armor. I think that is the Primaris version of Terminators. I could be wrong. Not sure what else. Probably likely a few characters. There's always characters with Primaris. So probably I'd imagine a Primaris lieutenant on a bike, because that is tradition. Speaking of tradition, chaplains on bikes. There was a chaplain on a bike existing, and Games Workshop does like to pay homage to those old models. So yeah, I reckon we'll see a chaplain on a bike as well if we see Primaris bikers. Otherwise, I imagine they'll be heavily armed. Primaris models seem to be overly armed. I mean, the vehicles are festooned with guns. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. The Primaris land speeder looks like it's got two missile racks on the front and likely some sort of onslaught cannon in the front. Can't quite tell. The bikes, not sure what weapons they'll have. They might have an Icarus launcher on the back, which would help Primaris armies take out flyers, because that is one of the big weaknesses they've got. What else? Shotguns. I want to see Primaris shotguns. Some big ones. Big ones, possibly a Gatling shotgun on the front. I would love that. That would look amazing. Plus, shotguns are cool. Anyway, moving on. What else would we see? I mean, it can't all just be an hour of Primaris. I'd imagine it would float quite broadly across the spectrum. Necrons seem to be a lot on Warhammer Community right now. Remember, Engine War hasn't even been released yet, and that is due out before the Pariah on Psychic Awakening. So they seem to be playing the Necrons a lot faster and a lot more promoted than they are Engine War, which is quite curious to me. And that leads me to think that maybe we're going to see something in this announcement on the weekend, these previews. As always, I would like a range refresh. I think most of us will, with most armies. But the Necron Warrior, as you can see on the screen, it's not that good. It's such an old, dated model. They've made art to demonstrate what they would look like. I don't like it. I think it doesn't feel menacing enough. It's just a little bit too sleek, almost Eldari. So on that basis, I would like it to look like this, the 3rd edition Necron Warrior. This is actually art taken from the original Necron Codex. And as you can see, that looks menacing. That looks dark. Could you imagine an army that looks similar to that? Or Necron Warriors, at least. It would, they're hunched. They are immensely alien, but they also look like death incarnate, which is what the Necron Warriors were supposed to represent. And I would like to see that. I would love to see an army that's revamped to look like that. They'll probably have to get rid of the rods, because let's be honest, the rods are quite fiddly, and they've already moved away from the rods on the Immortals. So, yeah, I don't think we'll see rods in the future. If they get rid of the rods for the Necron Warriors, they'll have to do it for the other units that use them, which would be, I suppose, a monolith. Would that have a revamp? It is an iconic unit, and it does need a revamp, probably new rules with it. And then there's the other units, such as destroyers. They have the existing rods as well, and those are old, dated models, just like the Warriors. and they could do with a revamp. So yeah, I kind of hope that's the direction we'll be going in with regards to Necron. Plus a bit of customization. I don't mean within the units, that's a bit of an Imperial thing. Space Marines in particular always used to have, like customizable models within a unit, such as plasma guns, missile launchers. It's a very Imperial thing. You've got Astra Militarum who do that. Even Sisters of Battle. But what I would love to see is Necron characters be customizable. Instead of just always the stock weapons. I mean, you can choose a couple of weapons for Overlords and Lords. But I'd like them to have, not so much weapon choices, although, extra weapons is always delicious. Customizable bodies, what could they have? They could be, they could have the Necron Wraiths. They could have them as a body, and, imagine that running around the table. It would be a more specialised model, more specialised rules. But imagine them doing things. Or the spiders, it could have the body of a spider and then be able to repair units as well, or shoot more heavily. I don't know. Whatever they want to do. I mean, the sky's the limit. They are all robots. Speaking of which, we could have new units. They could just build some. They could literally, anything that the Games Workshop design team imagines, they could build. The Necrons are a very malleable army, just like the Tyranids. You can do a lot with them. So why don't they? Let's see it. I want to see some new stuff. Reimagined models, and, let's bring in some new units. Something fun, something different. Opposite of something different, what about Necron Pariahs? Everyone used to love the concept of them. As you can see, the models are so dated now. They're probably more heavily dated, I would say, than the Warriors. They were never that strong in the first place, as far as I'm concerned. But look at the art. How menacing is that? How disturbing is that? That is a macabre take on humanity there. You can see from the art that, the Catan had a very dark plan for humanity. And speaking of which, of them as well, they are linked to the Pariahs. I know a lot of people link them to the Silent King, but that, I don't know where that comes from, because the Silent King came far after the concept of Pariahs were dropped, so I don't really think that's a relevant. And I mean, there might be something I'm missing in some background that I've not read. So comment below, let me know. I don't mind who it's connected with. Just bring back the Pariahs. Anyway, what about the Catan themselves? The models, they are still pretty good models for what they are. However, look at the art is menacing. Let's do something. Let's make some of the shards no longer shards. Let's make some of the shards come together and have some rogue elements, and then you can really have a splintered faction in the Necrons. You'd have the dynasties versus the Catan versus the Silent King. That is amazing. I mean, that means that you can have all sorts of chaos going on, and that's the only thing stopping humanity from being wiped out, is the fact that the Necrons are fighting amongst themselves as much as everyone else. It's an age-old usage. They got that with the Orcs, and they got that with the Chaos. But it's kind of poetic in that, that they are their own worst enemies. They would conquer the galaxy, even the Tyranids, probably pretty easily if they weren't fighting it out amongst themselves. And what this also does is enables people who enjoyed the original background, the fluff, as us forum goers like to call it. The fluff used to be Lovecraftian. It used to be, this massive creatures of unknown power and intellect that couldn't be matched. They were just monstrous. And there was 4 of them. There was the Outsider, the Deceiver, the Dragon, and the Nightbringer. You can still do that. You can expand on them with the shards coming together. You can have almost a limitless amount of them. And they were very dominant over the Necrons, to the extent that the Necrons were almost soulless. They've always been soulless, but I didn't mean that. I meant it more poetically. They had no life. They were basically automatons with no personality, which the dynasties kind of replaced that. The Necron warriors are the same, but the overlords and the courts, the royal courts, they've got the spark of life in them still. And that's great. That's great for the dynasties, but let's have an option to have, the mindless version of the Necrons with the Catan as well, and you can even duke it out with each other. I mean, I'm going on a bit about this now because it's something I absolutely adore and I love. And I really want to see it in the new, I don't know, new edition or new codex. I mean, who knows what's coming. that brings me on to the next thing quite nicely, is on Saturday, are we going to see a release of a new edition? Is it going to be 8.5, where we have minor tweaks? A lot of the time with Age of Sigmar, that's what they do. Or are we going to see a whole new edition that utilises the existing codex books? I mean, I would like a push towards better assault forces. I think assault and close combat in Warhammer 40,000 is in a bad place at the moment. Unless you have certain tricks like the Blood Angels, what's the point? My Ultramarines taking Vanguard veterans, they're just going to get annihilated off the board. I mean, that's a little bit glib. It's not 100% as bad as that, but it is a feeling a lot of people have. You build your army, the strongest army, the easiest army to build is the shooting army. Well, wouldn't it be nice if the assault armies had a lot more power and a lot more dominance, and people actually made an issue of putting plasma guns and power swords in a tactical squad? Do you see what I mean? It's like, why bother giving close combat weapons to units that's just going to stand around shooting, waste the points? How many times have we heard that? So yeah, I would like to see an assault force actually boosted with an 8.5 edition. New rules, 9th edition, I don't mind, as long as it all works. Necrons, are they going to just get an update in Psychic Awakening, or have they got a full codex coming? At first I was like, they just got an update in Psychic Awakening, but are they going to reveal codex this weekend? Because they're not just getting a new Seras model, they seem to be hinting at a Silent King model as well. I mean, why would they have all that background about the Silent King and not have a model coming? Is there this range refresh I've been banging on about for about 10 minutes now? We don't know. I mean, if there is, new codex seems likely. So, again, I'm not sure what's going to come this weekend, but I would like it to be centred on a Necron sort of theme, obviously. Which does bring me on to another part, is box sets are usually big news. New Primaris models coming out, box set, often promotes them. Necrons, refresh Necrons, put them in the box set. Are we going to have this? I hope so. I hope we're going to see that on Saturday. Don't know if I'm going to be correct in my prediction there. It's a bit of a wish listy one, but you never know. The previous box set was Dark Imperium, and that was a very successful box set that pushed two lines very, very well. I mean, if you look at Primaris since that box set, they've taken off everywhere, especially with the removal of Betrayal of Kauth, which was a very great, very cheap way of building Space Marines. So that was removed, Dark Imperium promoted, and everyone's now collecting Primaris, and Death Guard got a major push, and they were a brand new codex at the time. So those sort of box sets can be a really great asset for pushing armies that have, like Necrons, potentially been a bit in the background and not been as popular. Of course, most people will be offended that it wouldn't be Necrons versus Sisters of Battle, because their very first battle report was Necrons versus Sisters of Battle back in 2nd edition, which was a long time ago now. I think I was a kid at the time. Spoilers, Necrons won. I think a lot of people would like to see Sisters of Battle, Adepta Sororitas, I believe it's pronounced, versus Necrons. Not just for nostalgic reasons, but also because these would be two lines that would need the boost. They would need the promotion. The resource put into building up a line such as those two is quite immense from Games Workshop's perspective, and they need it to pay off. So Space Marines pay for themselves, they'll always sell anyway, so do you really need to promote them in a box set? I don't believe they do. I think Games Workshop will make their money either way, especially if they throw them in a couple of battle reports on White Dwarf or on Warhammer Community. It's easy to promote Space Marines. So get the Necrons, any revamped models promoted in a box set, alongside something else like Sisters of Battle. I mean, we have all wanted refreshed orcs for a long time, and no one got that. So you never know. I could be completely wrong here. But I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see a box set. Necrons will be involved. There'll be a revamped line declared this weekend alongside the Primaris, and we'll see what else comes. I'm not sure. Maybe some new Primarch models. We all know people will be very excited about that. Maybe a new Fulgrim or a new Angron is in the works, or at least hinted at. I think we'd all like to see Codex World Eaters. I know I would. That is pure wish listing, though. I don't believe that we're going to see what Codex World Eaters hinted at or even revealed or teased on the weekend. Don't think we're going to see a new Primarch. Certainly no Lionel Johnson that a lot of people crave for. They've just released that for 30k. I don't think we're going to get it for 40k for a long time, if at all. Just as unlikely is New Fallen. Anything to do with the Fallen Angels. I think that is in the wings. I think that is something they're going to work on, but I don't believe we're going to see anything about it. There's just been nothing hinted about Fallen Angels or anything like that. Not in the Warhammer community, nothing in White Dwarf. We're not getting any rumours at all about it. So I think they are working on it, but I don't think we're going to see it. Speaking of hints on the Warhammer community, I hope people have been reading the Psychic Awakening background. There is actually something on there for Necrons, which does back up my earlier points. There's a short story called Gone Dark, which has a lovely little bit at the end. Spoilers. Go away and read it now. I'll wait. You back? Good. Well, it has a bit at the very end about flayed ones. There's a flayed one that is wearing the skin of this guy's sister, and it's quite grotesque and macabre. It's quite disturbing, but it's not just mindless. It talks to him. It actually talks to him and torments him and lures him in. And yeah, that a new take on flayed ones would be great. And I don't want to slate old Games Workshop models or even newer ones, not too much, but I don't like the flayed one models. I think they're atrocious. The original ones in 3rd edition that were lead, unfortunately I sold many years ago, they were brilliant. But the new ones, I just don't like them at all. And they only released 5 of them, I believe. And if you want to have a unit of 20 flayed ones, which is kind of what you need to make them work anyway, you need to fork out a lot of money to do so. So they need a plastic new model, I think. Any revamp of a Necron line would have to see a flayed one. It would have to see new flayed ones. Absolutely lovely models, lovely concept, iconic. At least they are to me anyway. That's it for me. Plenty of wish listing gone on. I think this has gone on longer than tactical articles. Hopefully you liked it. Please like and subscribe. Comment below if you have any other ideas that might be coming out. And I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.